Hey, how's it going? Hello and welcome. It is Nate Mumford, Director of Sales Engineering here at RCS, broadcasting live from my house in Danbury, Connecticut, just outside our home base in White Plains, New York. Time for another installment of Q&A in the time of remote workflows. That's right, questions and answers. We have them for you. As always, every Thursday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, we have two sessions. One is kind of a Monday, Tuesday floating session, and then we have Thursday at 11 a.m. Eastern. We are again broadcasting live, answering any questions you may have in regards to remote workflows, and then also talking about really kind of whatever you want to talk about. I've been doing this now for wow, I can't. It's been a long time. Beginning of March, I think, perhaps. Like a lot of people, I had my initial, COVID-19 freak out, and I thought to myself, rather than wallowing, what's something we can do to help out? And I realized that we're all in the same boat, so why not go and just, if I was going to be at NAB talking for hours on end, I might as well talk for hours on end and answer your questions. So anything you want to talk about, this could be G Selector, this could be Selector to Go. This could be next gen iPush or RCS remote studio. This can be a next gen remote studio package or a Zetta remote studio package. This could be Zetta to Go, Zetta Cloud based disaster recovery. This can be Revma. All of that we can talk about. To get all that, yes. We have a lot of products over here too. So I believe I'm live. If somebody could confirm that for me, that'd be great, because I see my live icon here, but it decides to, the new Facebook producer role likes to go and just say like, okay, you're live. And they just kind of take a screenshot and leave it at that. So yeah, okay. I see some people in there too. Awesome. All right. Well, I thought get some housekeeping out of the way first. Just want to remind you about the again, the Zetta cloud-based disaster recovery. We do have a special going on right now for those with COVID-19. I unfortunately have enough radio friends and clients that have gotten hit by cryptoware during the COVID-19. It's just not fun. It just is. I deeply sympathize for you guys. So I don't want that to happen to you. Don't forget RCS cloud-based disaster recovery. The way that works is essentially, we take all of your local Zetta and we replicate both your logs, metadata, audio, SQL backups. Those all get sent up to Zetta Cloud and it stores there. Zetta Cloud's the first ever radio automation software written for the cloud. It's not a VM in the cloud. It is literally live. And what happens there is essentially, you can operate it with your cell phone if you wanted to. It's a URL. It's not an app you download. You log in with your credentials, and then you go in, essentially, boom, there you go. And when you're done, you're ready to go back to your local Zetta. You simply restore the backups from Zetta Cloud. That allows you then to re-push all of the metadata, audio, logs, all that good stuff. And then you're back on the air. Simply just kind of, deactivate your Zetta Cloud sequencer, so it's still running in tandem. And then hopefully that's the last you use of it. It's a disaster recovery solution. So in the best case scenario, it's an insurance policy that we don't want you to use. That's the concept there. And with every new Zetta Cloud-based disaster recovery client, we are throwing in a Zetta to Go license. If you remember correctly, the Zetta to Go license is essentially an extra seat in Zetta to Go. So, if you have any questions on that? Oh man, Henrik. We said Henrik was good, right? Henrik and I went back and forth because for some reason, Henrik, who's been chiming in a lot through our Facebook groups, Henrik and I got in my head that he had a unique pronunciation of his name, but we worked it out. We hashed it out. Henrik, we're good. Thank you for checking in. I appreciate it. I really do. So I thought for today, this was supposed to be kind of, I guess now post NAB week. I'm not going to lie. All the days have blurred together. I was supposed to be on the road all of March and April, and I've been, doing my one day a week. I go grocery shopping. That's my excitement for the entire week. I thought that maybe talking about NAB, we were going to reveal some cool stuff with Zetta 5.20.1. And I thought for today we'll just take some time and talk about some of the cool features in Zetta 5.20.1 and kind of show you around. It's what we're going to do at NAB, so might as well, the cat's out of the bag at this point in time, right? If you got questions, as always, you can comment below. I will answer them throughout the Facebook Live. If you want to take in a certain direction, hello, Meg. I know how to say your name, so you're good. Hi. If you want to take in a certain direction, I can totally do that. So if you have a question, feel free to comment, and we'll go from there too. So what you see on my screen right here, hopefully I have enough performance on here because I am streaming, recording, Facebooking, VPNing, and as well connect-wising into my machine back in White Plains, New York. This is my demo machine with Zetta 5.20.1. Just reminding everybody that we're close to beta release for 5.20.1. So if you're curious about getting the latest and greatest Zetta before anybody else, you can sign up to be a beta user. Obviously, we know that, of course, in all these times, it's kind of difficult to go and do some beta testing. But we're here to work with you. We have some kind of one-on-one support people that will help you out in the beta testing, as well as kind of a direct line of communication as well. So even if you're just interested to kind of get the ball rolling, perhaps maybe we kind of do this to the next release or something, we'll definitely help you out. You can reach out to your local RCS sales representative. You can reach out to RCS support. They are support at rcsworks.com, SUPPORT at rcsworks.com. Or you can always call them too, 914. I almost gave my cell phone number out there, 914-259-4900, right? 914-259-4900. And you can go and reach out to them. We'll get the ball rolling there too. So we have right here is Zetta 5.20.1. And you may notice that it looks slightly different, right? That might be because we introduced the new concept of skins in Zetta 5.20.1. I'm a huge fan of dark mode myself. My Outlook, my G selector, and now my Zetta are all in dark mode, which I like a lot. It's easier on the eyes, and I think this one definitely pops. So one of the things that we did in Zetta 5.20.1, I'm just going to call it Zetta 5 for moving forward, so I saved my breath, is that you might notice, by the way, the Zetta 5, we rebranded it, and that's because we have a lot of really cool features under the hood. This is definitely those those scaling enhancement versions, if you want to talk about that. So if you notice that we have a lot of different clients. That ranges from independent stations to national clients to we have SiriusXM as one of our clients that utilizes Zetta. And so we have definitely a lot of different tools. And one of the things that I love talking about Zetta is how flexible it is. And the beauty is that we can take certain workflows and adapt it to whatever you're looking to do. So maybe there's a module that you use all the time, whereas somebody else never even uses that module, or you just interpret it differently, For example, with G Selector, we have here, like, for example, songs, links, and spots. It's terminology, but if you don't want to see the songs, you can just take songs out there. We have one of our clients is a group of doctors who have kind of a 24/7 doctor network. And they're the ones, instead of having songs, so to speak, it's just free form, doctor tips that get scheduled 24/7. So if you have a news talk station or an NPR affiliate, all these things come into play. I'm kind of keeping it simple for me because obviously I'm used to talking about songs and music, but the news talk still applies here. And so one of the things we did in 5.20.1 is look at under the hood and really scale Zetta. If you recall that, we talk about, how many modules can I have open at any given time? How many hotkey banks can I have, or hotkeys individually? How many studios can I connect to one via site replication, stuff like that. And if you notice, we've been doing this for 10 plus years in Zetta. So we have definitely evolved with that. But now, after 10 years, we're talking about technology, right? 10 years is a long time in the tech world. And so now what we're seeing is some new enhancements to technology and code that we can apply to Zetta to further scale and really talk about setting us for the next 10 years for Zetta, which is really, really cool. So, one of the things you'll find in this version of 5.20.1 is that, again, under the hood, flexibility, scaling, and really just enhancing what Zetta was doing for the past 10 years. So, we're really, really excited for us because this is kind of a nice benchmark version. Thus, we changed it from Zetta 4 to Zetta 5.20.1. And in case you're wondering, we try to simplify code a little bit too. 5, because we were just on Zetta 4, and then 20, because it's 2020, and 1, because it's the first version of 2020. Make sense? Yeah, cool. And so what you're seeing here, visually speaking, is the first kind of facelift we did with Zetta, and that is going to be the dark mode. But you also notice that some of the fonts are enhanced and everything here. Shout out to Mike Dean, who did a lot of this stuff in development. And this is essentially what you're looking at here is kind of just an overall facelift in regards to color schemes, highlights, all of that. And the modules layout, that's all highlighted here. So even though you might look at that and say, okay, yeah, if you put the two side by side, I think you'll find that this version really pops in regards to visualization and formatting, which is really cool. All these highlights, by the way, just like Zetta proper, are completely customizable. So you can see kind of that purple that you have highlighted here. Again, you'll notice if I go and if I hover over different attributes, you'll see those asset types will be highlighted. That's color customizable. All these purple highlights are there. You can see where I'm that kind of white outline. That's just little subtle tweaks that we've enhanced here, visually speaking, for Zetta. Same functionality is there. You can actually use both. You can go back to Zetta proper, or you can go, I shouldn't say Zetta proper. I will say the Zetta metal theme, or you can have Zetta dark theme as well. That's in the mix too. It's all based over here in our user preferences. Just to show you very briefly, you can see there's the Windows theme here, and it's also some custom themes based on the individual color schemes. But metal and Zetta dark are the two default ones. And there is some conversation to expand this in the future too, just so you know. So that's coming down the pipeline as well. Again, any questions, feel free to comment in here. I'm just going to give a generic tour around Zetta 5.20.1. If there's something in particular you want to see, let me know. And by the way, for my own personal selfish gain, I did upgrade my microphone. And let me rephrase that. I finally got some mic processing and a USB interface. So my old USB mic that I found in the closet during early quarantine is now resting comfortably on my guest bed. And I found instead my old music degree, random compression mic that I have, a compressor mic that I had lying around in my equally, dust off engineering closet. So hopefully this will sound good. If I got to do some tweaks, by the way, to my EQ for all those engineers out there, please let me know. I am selfishly asking you because I did some online tweaks. I did some internal tweaks with my bassier of voice. But if I'm missing something in regards to, I got my S's are pretty good. I think my what do you call it? My expander gate for my highs could be a little bit better. So I got the DBX 286S. So for all those engineers out there, if they want to go and talk some shop, I will be glad to talk shop for you. Thank you, Di, my fancy new microphone. And shout out to Di and Corey for always helping me out here in these Facebook Lives. I really appreciate it too. So diving in, so we talked about the facelift. Obviously, visually speaking, this is different. By the way, the same exact dark mode applies for our Zetta 2 Go. And I know that's in here. So this is our, we're on the very last stages of alpha. We're getting ready for the beta very, very soon. Again, if you're curious about beta, we can definitely talk about that. But you can see here, this is kind of going to be the dark mode for Zetta itself, and very, very similar to that of Zetta 2 Go is the last one. The only difference you'll see here, some really cool enhancements to Zetta 2 Go. Me personally, that I love is if I go down here, we have the drop downs now. So there's the logs right there. I can go to the library, for example, and you can see here that drop down is now right here. That's the drop down. So again, instead of having that edit from the very top, we have some ways to move around here. And by the way, we just had a meeting yesterday around Zetta Cloud. I can't talk about it just yet, but I can tell you from the on-air person, the on-air talent, as a user interaction, to an engineer seeing how it's done, to also as an RCS employee seeing the evolution of it. It's really cool. There is some really, really cool stuff in regards to, I'll say, user interface with Zetta Cloud that's coming down the pipeline. I will tell you, the Zetta Cloud has been very quick in regards to development. The team over there has been phenomenal. If you didn't check out Chip Jellison's, our CTO, last week at this exact time, it's our featured video on Facebook Live. I know it's available on rcsworks.com under our blog section. Great conversation with Chip, just talking about essentially the future of Zetta Cloud, what brought us to Zetta Cloud, and then showcasing some new features, which we'll get to later on this Facebook Live. But some really, really cool stuff. So if you're curious about where, RCS is going towards technology-wise, definitely check out that video. It's a great watch, and a lot of really cool features there. Right in the middle of that video is a lot of good substance on there too. And just so you know, for those, just to break down in case you're wondering, I know there's a lot of timestamps in these videos. I unfortunately just don't really have the breakdown time to go and do all that, so I'll help you out a little bit. Every one of our videos here has kind of an introduction for me, and then we go right into the nitty gritty. For Chip's video, it's talking about what led us to Zetta Cloud, and then there's what to expect in up to quarter 4 of this year, like we're going to release by quarter 4. That's where a lot of the great stuff's in there. About probably, I think, 15 minutes in, something along those lines. And then we kind of do a recap on the second half as well for those who missed the first half. So just so you know. But anyway, a lot of really cool stuff coming down the pipeline for Zetta Cloud. Looking at Zetta 5.20.1. Again, we're talking about the UI aspect. So we have a drop down now for Zetta to go. I can simply just go here and change to all my different modules. My honor control is still there, still the same. And then we have some hotkeys here in the mix. Obviously, this is all pretty normal, just kind of getting you can see some UI tweaks in regards to Zetta to go. Jumping back to the Zetta client, that's here. You can see some, again, similar nature and stuff, visually speaking, a lot of under the hood enhancements, scalability, flexibility, all those great words I love to use and throw around there. Can I show the search? Can I show the search? I think I could, right, Di? I think that's pretty fair. We're going to show it pretty much at NAB, right? I think it's fair. So let's talk about one of the cool new features we have, which is our library search. And that is going to be, why am I all of a sudden running a blank on that? I was after that. I believe it's under systems. Is it asset types? Yeah, asset types. Good. So one of the things that we did, and shout out to Martin, who is our Zetta product lead. One of the really cool things we designed is for, please, boot, awesome, great, thanks. Just making sure, Di, that I'm not gonna go and, you all know it's bad if my phone vibrates and it's like, don't do that. So anyway, one of the things that we introduced in 5.20.1 is kind of server versus client side searching. And what that means is you can see here our assets, right? So you can see there's a client side and server side search. And the cool thing about this is that it allows you to essentially look at your entire database or just your station. Because if I'm a user, right, and let's talk about some big clusters here. And let's just say you have a cluster with 7 stations. And of those 7 stations, one is that AAA format that has the deep album cuts. And we have like 3,000 songs. Plus we have a 25-year-old heritage rock station. And we have a top 40 station with constant pop turnover, okay? All of a sudden, those assets build up pretty quickly in your database. And what happens here with server-side searching is that we're essentially telling Zetta how we want to search the library. Do we want to search everybody across the board, or do we want to search just the individual stations we care about? At the administrator level, we want to give them a choice. So as an admin, you can say you can see all the things or just the server. Up to you. Client side would be the individual clients. Server side is everywhere across the board. And when you have a server side search, I can also choose the method if it's switchable or not switchable. I believe you have to redo, just reset your layout here. So let me go in my layout and just see if I can't go back to my Nate's demo room. And the way it works is it's just truly a search across the board. You can go and access, different keywords. It's pretty cool in here. So you can go in here and turn this on, and you can see now there's title and artist and other different fields as well. So the example we always give is if I want to search by, I should have thought of a song first. I'll do, let's see here. What's Maroon 5? That'd be a good one. So I can type under artist, Maroon 5, right? So if I type in Maroon and 5, and there should be some songs that pop up here. Enter key. You can see what I'm doing is almost kind of like a Google search inside of my library. So instead of just having all your songs there, and again, talking about performance with Zetta, the key thing here is going to be you have that library of 10,000 songs, right? Your cursor on the right-hand side, you scroll down, you have to search for it, you filter it, maybe you do a column search if you want to as well, and just kind of have to go through, and it's not the end of the world, but also when you have 10,000 songs, we kind of want to give things a little more efficient, a little quicker, and so there's no need, just like Zetta Cloud and Zetta To Go, if you're looking for Maroon 5, there's really no need to go and search through your entire library for Maroon 5. You can just go and say, show me Maroon 5. That's all I care about. And then you can get more specific too if you wanted to. So you can go here and say, like, what? So what in Maroon 5, it's going to show you all the songs that include what and Maroon 5 into the context. See that? So it gets to be very, very powerful. I can clear these both off, just hitting the X, that's there. And again, I can just enter and I can search, all songs I wanted to. That's in the mix as well. There's key phrases too, so I can do like what lovers do. So for example, maybe you have a, I'm trying to think of an example here with a live version. It worked very well with Bruce Springsteen and all of the demos. There's a lot of Bruce Springsteen tracks that work very well here. Or perhaps if you have a lot of those songs with like Hallelujah, for example, there's a lot of songs Hallelujah in the title. If you want to look at a certain circumstance of that, you can do Hallelujah with Jeff Buckley or something along those lines. You can do a title and artist, combine it into one and search for it. Really, really cool feature. And again, this is optional. You can toggle between the two if you want to do that as well. The concept here is that you have essentially, you give a choice if the user wants to, as an admin level, you're looking at just your music library, or everybody's music library in the entire server. Again, talking about that scalability in 5.20.1, it's easier to search for A, off the bat. B, you're not loading up all that data, which is saving the performance for your UI. And C, if you do have 10,000 songs, why are you searching through 10,000 songs? If you're going on Google and there's a particular website you want to go to, you would type in that particular website. That's what you would do. Or if you're like my dad, you would go to, and this is a true story, how to fix his printer on Monday. If you want to check your Hotmail account, you go to google.com, you then type in Hotmail, you hit enter, then you click on hotmail.com, and you put in your Hotmail credentials. And yes, I did use the word Hotmail, not to be confused with his AOL account. So Dad, I love you. That's your shout out for your Hotmail and AOL account. That is our library search. That's a big feature in 5.20.1 as well. Very, very cool stuff over there. And again, just kind of looking around, there's some kind of, cool tips and tricks in here too, in regards to just kind of performance of GPIOs and macros and stuff like that. Nothing too that would pop up out of the norm that I can think of off the top of my head. Listen, I love my dad. He's fantastic. And you might have heard him somewhere honking his horn because now he's retired. So he's driving around and he can't go anywhere because of the quarantine. So he just drives around all day. So anyway, let's see here. What else can I talk about in regards to 5.20.1? We talked about the beta, talked about the library search, talked about the UI. Couple little things, again, with the version 5, we relabeled some things. So you might see, for example, live metadata send. Again, 10 years is a long time. So certain things have tweaked and we're kind of scaling it for the next 10 years. So live metadata versus the now playing, you'll see some kind of phrasing there. We reorganized some things in the system, in the config and system. Those are organized. A couple extra settings in the mix as well. Those are in there. Anything else in particular you want to talk about, we can definitely do that and talk about. But I think for right now, that's pretty much the nice, great overall here too. And then jumping over to my Zetta to go, as I said, that's all in there. Some cool features there. I'm just trying to think of anything else that's unique. Voice tracking, system monitor. I'm going through my brain here as I'm doing it. And that's pretty a lot of the good stuff there. Again, there's some stuff in the library, adding certain rotation stuff. The mini logs are now in there. Some custom assets are also in there as well. Shows, mini logs, that's in there. And yeah, so we're working on a couple different things in Zetta to go too. So that's in there. Anything in particular in Zetta to go, let me know. Otherwise, I'll move on and I'll kind of, again, talk about some stuff from Zetta Cloud. If I go over here, US dots, there we go. So let's talk about some Zetta Cloud stuff from Chip. In case you missed our conversation on Tuesday, just doing some recaps in regards to Zetta Cloud and cool things we can do with it. Talking about things down the road. Yes, there is a Zetta Cloud portal that you'll see here. Usually I have this logged in already, so I just kind of thought today I'll kind of take a step back and show you more of the Zetta Cloud itself. And let me know if you want to see any Zetta to go stuff. Otherwise, I'll just close that window. You'll get your own username and password in here. Hopefully I type fast enough where you can't decipher all my stuff. Let's see here. This is loading up over here. I'll check my comments. We're good there. And yeah, so Zetta Cloud, your own username, login, all that good stuff. We do use Okta for security authentication, just in case you. Yeah, again, for security purposes, we're in the radio software. We're not in the security field, so we just thought, hey, it's one of the top ones that we use. We use it ourselves, and so we apply that to your system, and we lock into all proper Okta authentication protocols and all that good stuff. Loading into Zetta Cloud, again, you'll see here. Now you'll start seeing how familiar it is between Zetta Cloud and Zetta to go 5.20.1. Again, those drop downs. And how we can quickly switch from module to module, the playlist functionality, the system monitor. You can see how those are starting to blend together even more. Speaking of blending, that was a great point that Chip was making in the last video that I really am taking to heart personally through all of my RCS conversations is where is radio going in 2020 and 2021? Obviously with Corona, we're working from home now. The workflows are different. We have mobile rigs everywhere. People are trying to utilize and broadcast live, adding audio remotely. We're not really not really locked to a studio anymore like we were back in the day. And with RCS and Zetta to go, all our to go products, you can work remotely on the road and still be, working as is from home for a defined period of time. So with Zetta Cloud, one of the things that we're presenting is, there's some workflows here. And obviously this is a relatively new piece of software. As I said beforehand, it's a URL written on the cloud on AWS, best practices and security. It's not a VM. And what happens is that, let's just say, James, I'll get to you 1 second. So what's happening is that we're trying to, obviously, during coding and all that, add these enhancements, these normal radio automation features like hotkeys, which is coming down the pipeline. But obviously, Zetta Cloud's not going to work for everybody. News talk stations, we can use your audio and backup for cloud-based disaster recovery, and we can make sure that we have some schedules in there. But again, especially the logs and metadata and the backups are saved. But, if we have a satellite station in the mix, that's going to come into play, and we're just not there yet with Zetta Cloud. So the concept of blending these pieces of software together start coming into play. And we had that, remember, we had that remote article, remote.rcsworks.com, I believe, talking about the entire RCS process, how we can go and start with selector to go and create a music schedule. Massage the editor, send it to your automation with Zetta live integration. Zetta has the log immediately, sees all the changes. If I add an element in Zetta, it's reflected in G selector, reflected in selector to go. If I go and take Zetta to go and make a change to the log or fire a hotkey, that's reflected in Zetta proper. If I go and add an asset to Zetta to go, if I voice track in Zetta to go, it's reflected in the Zetta client, all that good stuff. And then what we can do is Zetta Cloud, again with site replication and Zetta Cloud-based disaster recovery, we can start taking those workflows and blending them together. Case in point, we had Chip was talking about last Thursday, we have the voice tracking feature. So you can voice track from Zetta Cloud and then site rep that back to your local Zetta, wherever that may be. And of course, if you rep it back to your local Zetta and that local Zetta is site repped to another Zetta market, they can also share the audio. So I can put audio in here and it sends across all of the markets. Again, that's using RCS site replication or Zcasting, some of those lines. And so what happens with Zetta Cloud is we can voice track and start to blend those workflows. Or we have Revma in our conference app. I'll show that in just a second here too. And we could talk about essentially, having a conference app, a conference room. Everybody joins that room. All of your morning show talent can join that. And then from there, you then send that to Zetta Cloud for a live stream. That's also a possibility as well. Got a question here. Ooh, a bunch of questions. Great. James was saying, I have a Zetta to go question. In the segue editor, can we use trim, like set trim in, trim out that we have in Zetta? Yes and no, James. So the trim will respect your Zetta, your local Zetta. So the transition itself is saved in Zetta to go, but when you save it and it's going back to your local Zetta, it's going to show you essentially the trim in, trim outs that you set early on. So we are working on that. It's something we're aware of. Again, it's if you do a kind of the cough, so to speak, there's no way to trim that out, so to speak, yet. But if you have that silence in the beginning of the track and the silence at the end, those are trimmed. If you go and do your voice track and revert back to your local Zetta, you will see that there is if you go to the library. So for example, if I go in here and I go to my voice tracks, and I think I have one from an earlier example somewhere this week. I'll just do Thursday. Yeah, hopefully this will give us something here. Looking back, just some old voice tracks I've done. Of course, that one's just me doing a test that was blank. I can find one in here somewhere, but I'll show you that essentially it's got a trim in, trim out, and of course I immediately hit record on this one, which is why you can't see it. And I hit immediately stopped at the end, but you can kind of see exactly where that little trim in is in there too. So if you do an example, you can record it, you'll see it. It's in there reflected based on your library itself. That's what's there. So working on that. Hello, shout out to our friends over at CHBN. Sharing the on-air module version 5.20. So CHBN was saying in to go, some Zetta to go, I'm assuming, can we share the on-air module in version 5.20? So you're saying over here, are you saying this on-air module is that we're looking to see here, guys and gals? So this is the on-air module here. Again, very, very similar to that of Zetta proper, just in dark mode in there. And everything is normal here. I can have the modes up on top. I can play next, change my segues, pause, stop, eject, all of that. You can see my intro times here. If you're ever wondering what those little yellow dashes are, those are your intro times on your songs. And remember, Zetta has intro 1, 2, and 3. That's where we might see 3 of those lines in there right now. So that's in there. Also talking about some random things here. We're doing some planning, some planning for 5.20.2. So for whatever reason, if there's any kind of unique examples or enhancements that you're curious about, you just kind of want to poke us, let us know. We're more than happy to investigate that for you and see what we can do in the future versions of Zetta. Going on my list here, hopefully that answers your question, CHBN. I'll leave this up so you can see it. And again, they were asking, can we share the on-air module in version 5.20? That's what that is right here. Again, have it at the very, very top. Di, thank you for sharing that link there, remotework.rcsworks.com. that's the very first one, kind of the big page we did in which we're talking about all of the workflows with RCS from each one of our products and how you can go from one to the next one. Susquehanna University. Look at that. That's my wife's alma mater. Funny enough. Yes, if you want to look for a good example, thank you, Di. Remote workflows, Susquehanna University's WQSU. That's from All Access. That's from examples that's there too. And then finally, James. Thank you, James. Thank you for thanking me. I appreciate it. So keep the questions coming. I'll leave my Zetta to go window open 5.20 for CHBN. So if you guys want to see something else in here, let me know, and I can jump back and forth and toggle between the two. Let's talk about that conference app for a second. I know that's been kind of a question here. So I have a dashboard with my Revma, and again, just because I want to just log in properly over here. Hold on one second. And get your questions in. I'm stalling for time here as I load this up my second monitor. I'm just loading up my actual station itself for right now. Boom. If you're just chiming in right now, welcome to another live installment of our RCS Q&A in the time of remote workflows. We kind of thought about what we can do to help out. It's all chaos all around us. There's so many unanswered questions, and we don't know what's going on. So I thought that the best thing that we can do here at RCS is really just make ourselves available so that if you do have questions in remote workflows, we can be here to help answer those questions for you. So that's what we're doing. So essentially, every, as I said, twice a week, Monday or Tuesday, we'll float. Maybe throw a Wednesday in there. I don't know. And then every Thursday, 11 a.m., we'll do our Facebook Live, and that's Eastern times there too. CHBN, shrink. So right now, CHBN was saying they're talking about they want to see if they can shrink the on-air so we can show more or less now playing and more of the hotkeys in the library. I will tell you that don't forget we have the layouts and we have the particular layouts here, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You'll notice there's some expanded ones here. So for example, I think the new ones we have here is the 3-panel left, 3-panel right. So you could do... I want to find the best one that might fit for you. Maybe a 3-panel left. And for example, you can see here that, and I'm just going to go and I'm just going to jump here to, let's see, just want to show you some highlighted stuff that's already playing. So, I mean, you have here on the left-hand side, this is my on-air sequencer, the rights, the logs, and the library. That's a new layout that we have for you. We try to expand that just slightly. I will tell you that there's some things in the works in regards to what you're talking about. That's all I'll say about that. But for right now, for 5.20.1 that will be released, you can see here we kind of expanded them a little bit too. So again, layouts. We have the 1-panel, 2-panel that has some splits in there, 2-panel with columns, and then the 3-panel is what we expanded on. So 3-panel top, 3-panel left, 3-panel right, which would be this exact scenario, just flipped. So 1, 2, and one big one. 3-panel bottom, which is 1, 2, and then a big at the bottom, and a 3-panel row as well. So if I do the 3-panel bottom to show you that here, that's going to be the reverse of what we just saw. So logs in the on-air in the top left, logs in the top right, library in the very bottom. That's there. So again, you can see this layout here, on-air, logs, library. Maybe I want to change this, I don't know, to hotkeys. Maybe that's a thing we want to do. So we have kind of on-air, hotkeys, library. I can maybe make this the voice tracker. I'm trying to think of some unique layouts. Me personally, I always really enjoyed, the on-air up top with the 2 modules in the bottom because my brain always goes to kind of the voice tracker. And as a PD myself, I always have in the back of my mind thinking about what is on the air playing right now. I know you can't audition audio in Zetta to go right now, but the concept in my brain is always, I want to know that my station's on the air and is always on the air. So that's kind of how my brain operates. So even to this day, I still think of, I always like to have somewhere in the corner, I want a snapshot of my station knowing that I'm still on the air and broadcasting live. And then don't forget too, you can also go and drop this down here too and see other stations. You can have on air, on air, on air. They can all be open at the same time. Thank you, Di. I was going to talk about that earlier and I got sidetracked as I normally do. Don't forget, we shared this on our Facebook page. I also have I did a chat with Jason over at Bonneville for our Radio World webinar. It's next Tuesday. It's talking about broadcasting from home. It's essentially case studies talking about how Bonneville, specifically Bonneville, Sacramento, what they did during COVID-19 when it all went down, what they sent out with rigs and the engineering department and all of that, and how their talent continued to voice track on the air using Zetta to go and Selector to go and all of that. So if you are curious about more, again, some of these case studies on what they did, Jason is a wealth of information, by the way. He knows what he's doing as an engineer. So if you're an engineer yourself, or if you know your local engineer, you want to put him onto that, it's going to be a great conversation. And again, showcasing some, RCS products as well. But the beauty there is that really talking about, we break down, when we found out, what we did, how we did it, and then how Bonneville, Sacramento specifically went and they have a news talk. They have some music formats as well. How they rigged their makeshift kind of mobile on the air, rigs, and sent them out and all that stuff. So if you're curious on that for a case study, that's going to be Radio World webinar. It's the is that a Tuesday, the 28th? I think it's a Tuesday. And I believe it's at noon if you want to check that out. So that's going to be, Di posted a link on the comment section. If you want to check that out, you can reserve your spot for that. And again, some really cool stuff. And Jason is, again, a wealth of information who knows what he's talking about. So highly encourage you to check that out as well. CHBN, I believe I answered your question. Are we good? Does that make sense for you too? So we're working on it in regards to big picture, but in the short term, that is actually released. Again, we added some extra layouts in addition here. So I'll leave that open for a couple seconds as we move on from there. So any not last questions, but let me know if you have any more questions on Zetta to go. That's here right now. So I'm going to switch over and talk about our conference app that we have that's brand new. So I have over here in the my Revma side of things, this is my Revma portal, just so you everybody knows. So what I'm looking at here essentially is this is my station. And Revma is global. We have international clients everywhere. And so you can actually see who's listening right now to my conference test station. Guess what? Fun fact, nobody's listening. But over here, you can see this is my mainstream URL. There's some low latency streams that are associated with this. So for example, if you're talking about certain things that you need to have low latency for, we do have some built-in low latency streams as well. Cool, CHBN, great. I'm glad you're happy. I'm here, so if you think about more stuff, just comment away and we'll pivot back over if you want to talk about more Zetta to go stuff or 5.20.1 stuff. Whatever you guys want, let me know. And so yeah, there's a mounting point over here. We have some low latency mounting points as well. And I thought, well, yeah, we're here. Might as well give you kind of a quick tour about some Revma stuff. So Revma is our streaming provider. They duplicate all of the signals, all of that good stuff. The beauty about Revma is we have some flexibility for you in regards to what kind of encoder you want to use, but especially the bit rates. As Revma, we really don't care about the bit rate as much as you do. So if your encoder is 128, great. We'll take your 128, we'll duplicate the stream. If it's 192, great. We'll take it, we'll duplicate the stream. If your encoder's 320, all right, and you want to have a 320 stream, great. We're not going to charge you any more for your bit rate. It's just a flat, whatever your encoder is, that's what we take, and we go ahead and we duplicate it. If you want to have multiple bit rates, we will go and we can change that. What you'll do is you'll add an additional relay, and then from there you have the mainstream, which is coming from your encoder. We take that bit rate and we split it, and then we can define what kind of bit rate you want. So if you have, let's say, a high-end internet stream, you can have users, pick from the 320, 192, or 64. We can also duplicate the 64 for an online telephone, for a whole messaging system. We can do that too. with Revma as well. Again, that's going to be essentially just we take whatever your encoder is, we duplicate it. That's what this mounting point is here. And then if you have essentially another secondary, we'll go ahead and just duplicate that. And then you have control of that bit rate for any additional relay as well. And Revma is included. We have a built-in failover stream. Just be aware it does involve a secondary encoder. But if you have, let's say, a nice high-end encoder and one kind of free backup encoder, we can link that too. So if the primary one goes down, the backup will take over. You never lose your internet stream whatsoever. So if you're an internet station, that's probably a nice thing to look into. Or if you're want some redundancy for your online station, definitely that's included as part of the Revma package as well. You can see here, I have some generic session rules. I think we did this on Tuesday. I have some settings and all that cool stuff in here. The biggest thing I want to show you right now, and maybe I'll do this. I'll show the conference app first. This is the brand new feature we have that's in the background here called the conference app. And what this does is it pretty much think of this as a conference room. So we're taking all of these sources, we're putting into one conference room, and this conference room has this mounting point playout right here, right? So we take essentially that low latency stream URL and we connect it to something, wherever you want it to be, your choice. If you have it with Zetta Cloud, we'll have an option here that has live feed that will be in the top. So once it's activated, so once we put the link into Zetta Cloud, you'll see two of these live streams here, live stream and live feed. And again, just treats it as you click it, boom, you're broadcasting live from whatever is here. This is kind of the producer role. So I can go and have my mic here. You can see those are kind of my, levels, so to speak. You can hear that I'm moving. I can add people to this link. And by the way, if you want to be super savvy and you want to go and take that link right now and steal it and copy it and try to join my session, go right ahead, because I still have access to who is allowed to be entered into this room. And that's that telephone here on the top right. So security purposes, just be aware that link, you can't just jump in this conference room. Me as the host of the conference, I have to allow you to be entered into this conference room to then have your mic played out. I also have the option of muting mics in here too if I wanted to, or I have my own mic mute, which is just here, and I can have a little kind of cough, so to speak. So, and I'm back on the air talking. The cough filter, if you will. I got some options here, so I can choose what I want from my my import and output sources. That's in here. And again, I have the go live. So technically speaking, that was all not technically live. Now I'm officially live. You can see this is me talking. I am live. That gets sent to essentially the URL. That URL gets assigned to Zetta Cloud. And then we have, again, the on-off switch in Zetta Cloud, which is encompassing this conference room here. That all makes sense? Right? We got some flexibilities. Do I want to end my session? I'm going to hit yes. Let's go turn off my session here. If we have some things working on and connecting this with Zetta as well. So if you're interested in this conference app and for Zetta, we do have some ways of making this work together. So essentially, we will create a hotkey in Zetta. I guess I can show it, right? Yeah, why not? I guess I can just show it. It's just easier if I just show it. We all wait for NAB for all this cool stuff, and then all of a sudden we get quarantined, and it's like, well, what am I saving my stuff for? It's not really saving it for anything. So this is my conference app. I'm going live. That's all good. I have my Zetta here. My Zetta was actually turned off when I shut my computer off. I'll leave that alone. So what I did here is I have a conference link test. So what we have developed, this is for version 4. I got to go back here. 4.19.1, 4.19.2, 5.20.1. This is a patch for all three of those versions. So if you're on 4.19.1, there's a patch for it. If it's 4.19.2, there's a patch for it. And it's going to be built in for 4.19.2, just so you know. The way it works is we just have a little RCS support. Reach out to them. We'll put in a special internal patch on here, run a quick little SQL query, and we'll get this enabled on your Zetta system. So what happens here is we have this conference link test. It is an asset. You can make it whatever you want it to be. It could be a song, link, spot, custom, whatever you want it to be. The key thing here is if I double click this conference app, you're going to see that I have a brand new playback method. That's the key here. That brand new playback method is the stream URL. That's the brand new feature. See that right there? And because we're here, I might as well review that. Play file, that is a simply direct, just play this asset, boom, you're good to go. There's play external, which has any kind of external sources, anything that's externally playing from Zetta, that's in there, not very that common. There's live event, and there's also confirm live events here. These play an important function because there's two aspects to it. There's a live event, which means it's a live copy that I have to read, thus the confirm live events. So if I have this in here with the script, with confirmed live events, it's going to show up in my notepad or my notes module. I can read it, I can hit confirm, reconciles that back to traffic, and we're good to go. That's live events. The second portion of that is there's a setting in here which I highly encourage you to use, especially if you have G Selector, and that's configuration system. You click on your station and you go to the playback. I'm talking quicker than it's loading up over here. Treat live events as empty voice track slots and voice tracks. What that does is if you can think of your voice track as a link, all right, a piece of imaging. Now, you can have copy associated with it. You can have it just default in your system. But with treat live events as empty voice track slots and voice tracks, you can now utilize G Selector and G Selector's segue band transitions. Think of it this way. If I have a song and it's a 0-second intro, all right? If that comes up in the log itself, transitioning from element A to element B, right? And if I have a voice track there and it's a 0-second intro, what are you going to do? Not much room to talk with. You're going to put a bed in there and kind of do a crossfade. You can. There's nothing wrong with that. But what if you have an extended intro? So now we have that same song, 0 seconds. One has 12 seconds. Well, I clearly want the 12-second version to schedule next to my voice track. So what I would do in G Selector is I would create this element, this asset, treat it as a live event. G Selector knows that I'm essentially a link that could be turned into a voice track if I wanted it to. And then what I do is I create a segue band in G Selector that says, if I am a link that has the attribute voice track, right? So link and voice track are tied together. I cannot schedule next to a song that has a 0-second intro. And then what I do is I create the segue band relationship. Don't segue a voice track next to a 0-second intro. I guess technically it's reversed. Don't play the 0-second song if you're coming out of a voice track, right? And that voice track's all labeled because it's a live event in Zetta, and we can voice track over it. And what you can do there is a slew of really cool things. And don't forget, there's a setting in G Selector. You can take two elements. If they share the same title and share the same artist, they are treated as one element, right? Same title, same artist, treated as one element. That's a brand new feature as well. That's important because you're sharing the history and the turnover, the minceps, all that stuff. That's all shared across the board. So you're not getting, that same song coming up twice because one's a built-in version, one's not a built-in. I'm going to open my G Selector and show you that setting here in 1 second as I load this up. Let's see here. Check my questions. Any questions, you can always chime in, rcsworks.com or live at rcsworks.com. You can direct message us as well. Thomas, I don't know if you're on here or not, but Thomas, I know I have a direct message from you that I have to answer. I saw that yesterday, so I'll address that in a couple of seconds. And let's show you this one setting here. And this is showing you how to enable the treat title and artist as the same song. Just going over here as it's loading up here. Because, of course, my poor laptop, I have Zetta, I have G Selector, I have Zetta to go, I got my Facebook going, I have also my recording and my stream going on the same exact one here. So let me pull this in here. I believe, okay, let's go for this setting. That's the setup, station features. It's at the station level. Is it advanced or is it attributes? Attributes, song identification. So setup, station, features, attributes, song identification, if it's internal ID, or artist in title. If it's artist in title, it means that we're matching, combining those into one, treat them the same element, schedule accordingly, and it's almost like packeting, except that there is no real packet. We're just treating them both the same. Questions, you can comment below on that. That's live event. Play incoming file is very similar to play external, except that's coming into Zetta. And then, of course, we have the stream URL. Going back to the conference app, we have this is that low latency mounting point. We put that in there as the URL. We have to give it a title, duration, and the URL itself. Once all three of those are in there, we have the elements. I'm not going to save my changes. And what we can do is we can put this into a hotkey. Once it's in a hotkey, it turns into that same thing we have in Zetta Cloud, kind of like an on-off switch. I can click it, and for an hour, that's what I gave it as my duration, I have this in feed open and ready to go. So if I go back to my conference app here, and if I go live, you'll hear this go from the conference app through my Revma low latency stream, through my asset called Conference Link Test, which has a duration of an hour, that is then enabled via hotkey that plays out the stream for all of those sources that are part of the conference app. Did you get all that? So again, to review, I have here my Revma conference app. I create my room. I invite all my users who I want on there. So your morning show team, right? All 5 members of your morning show team. I have my own mic. I can mute any mics up here if I wanted to. I go live so that the Revma conference is live, currently going. And then from there, I create an asset in Zetta. I assign that asset as a stream URL to a hotkey. I enable that hotkey, and we're good to go. And don't forget, I have right here, I have my other Zetta to go. And I'm just going to bring this over here. This is my other Zetta to go. So don't forget to think of this as multiple markets, right? So I technically have right now, this is my Zetta to go with my demo room in White Plains, New York. This over here is my Zetta to go in my local Zetta right here in Danbury, Connecticut. So I can have multiple windows open at the same exact time. The only thing I will say is just be careful of your mic input source. Because obviously, if I'm recording into one Chrome and another Chrome, I only have one microphone. So sometimes, depending on how you have your configuration, especially if you use Windows default as kind of a mixer, that definitely comes into play. So just being careful in there. Best practice is have one open at any given time if you're recording into both. You'll know it. It will pop up and just say, hey, my mic source is being utilized somewhere else. Stuff like that. You can just refresh the window and it's fine. And you can see here, this is my 4 module layout. Again, this is the current Zetta to go on 4.19.2. And I'm looking for my hotkeys. So I'm just going to go here, my layout, edit layout. I'm going to change my on air because I know that I'm off the air right now. I'm going to change that to my hotkeys section. And you'll see here on the top right, that's going to be my conference feature. That conference link test that I created, that's in there right now as it loads up very slowly. It's just about an hour. So I try to keep these things to about an hour. So if you want a last chance for questions for today's session, as always, live.rcsworks.com, or you can go and direct message us or comment too. And by the way, you'll notice here, oh, Nate, it's broken. There's an X and valid for local playout. Don't forget that I have the local mode right here, right? Local mode playout. That's for hotkeys for voice tracking. The on-air will give you that option for the conference link test. Again, I fire it. It's an on-off switch, and we'll be on the air as well here too. There's that on-air counting down. If I want to turn it off, simply turn off, and I'm back off the air. And one last little thing to show you too, if I turn this off here, and I go to my on-air, switch back to local mode. Don't forget, that's your volume control for your voice track for your hotkey beds. So if you're ever wondering, I don't want to fight with my hotkeys, that's the level there for that. Richard Berry was asking, will the conference app work on mobile? It will work on Android. As of right now, it's Android. I think there's some protocols for iPhones, but it definitely will work on Android phones. I know we tested that as right now. So Richard Berry was asking, will the conference app work on mobile? And it's going to, yes, work on essentially Androids, desktops, and all that. There's some protocol settings in the mix. So it's a little more browser specific, but yeah. Henrik, it's like Christmas. Yes. I just throw all the enhancements I can give it you guys and go from there, especially my Christmas sequencer on off here. And by the way, just so you're wondering, just because I'm here, these are red and green because we have a workflow with one of our national clients. They're syndicated at certain hours of the day, and they don't want to have essentially the board, the screen, everything open when they're not in the studio. So their proper workflow is to go here, fire this macro that's in red. And what that does is it takes, no matter what mode Zetta's in, it puts it in auto mode and it disables the board with a GPO. And they're told to close Zetta. So all you see is just a Windows background. So if anybody comes in after hours, like an intern or a part-timer, and they spill milk or something along those lines, we've all been there. It happens. I once had it where I was on the air in Boston. And I was on the air in Boston, and I turned the page on top of my board, and there was a pencil I didn't see next to the page. And literally, when I turned the page, the pencil fell down, and I kid you not, hit the post, started playing the song, turned off my mic, turned my page for the next promo, and the pencil came down and fired the next element, landed completely directly on the key, firing the next element. I will never forget that. And as you can tell, that happened in 2008. And it still holds true to this day. So anyway, if you want to have the board disabled, Zetta's closed, everybody's logged out, don't forget, Zetta has a detached playout. So essentially that play button is being run by the on-air sequencer in the Zetta file server in another room. So you're good. You can close that. It doesn't make any difference to Zetta whatsoever. And they're told their workflow is when they're back on the air, they open up Zetta. They have their own username and login, which gives them their own default layout, different from the previous user. And the first thing they're supposed to do is they go in there and they fire the nice big green hotkey that essentially re-enables the board and takes them from auto, puts them in live assist, and now they have their default layout. They have the board enabled. They have Zetta open. Life is good, and all of that jazz. So yeah, last minutes for questions here. CHBN, thank you for chiming in. I appreciate it. James, you too. Great questions there. Richard Berry, also great questions. Henrik, as always, love the comments. And Julianne, thank you for joining, Julianne. We appreciate it as well. I am just about at an hour, so I think that's good for today, if that's good for you and all that good stuff. Listen, so I've been doing this for over a month, twice a week. I'm going to try to bring in some unique guests, probably for next week. But if there is any topics you want covered specifically, any workflows, any ideas that you want to kind of talk about, I'm pretty flexible here, like Zetta. And so if there's anything you want to cover, let me know. I'll take this in a certain direction. We had one of these Facebook Lives. We had tons of questions from users. And so we just went through the list and said, okay, here's this one, here's this one, here's this one. No questions too specific. If it does pertain to only your situation where you have a particular issue for your one station, I can easily go read it, talk about it, and then take it offline, and we can talk after our Facebook Lives. Totally fine. I'm doing that with a lot of you guys right now. So pending any last minute questions, I know there's a little bit of a delay here, so I'm just kind of stalling. So if you have your questions, feel free to go and comment, and I will stall accordingly. I will talk to you sometime next week, either Monday or Tuesday, probably a later half of the day, and I'll try to have some unique stuff for you on Thursday. But again, this one would kind of talk about, Zetta to go and talk about Zetta 5.20.1, all the new features. Conference app, absolutely. We'll get you. So that would be Scott, right? Scott Farr, that's your sales representative. We can definitely talk to Scott and get that ball rolling. And so yeah, so again, just to review because I'm here. This is the brand new Zetta to Go 5.20.1. You'll notice the dark mode, the dropping down options, so you can change the module based on the drop down. Really cool stuff there. This is my local Zetta. You can see again the dark mode, the fonts, colors. We talked about, again, big shout out to Martin. We have essentially the server side versus client side search. So we're going to go here and search and do what? Maroon 5, something like that. Maroon. Hit enter. And it shows me my entire database. So in case I had, 10,000 songs in my library, there's no need to both display, search, and work with that many songs. You can isolate it so it's just station specific, and then I can enable essentially this statewide server-side search to go and look at the entire database, which is really, really cool. So that's a new feature in there too. And again, talking about, we just really upgraded the scalability, flexibility of Zetta. It's been 10 years, and we just want to kind of really incorporate the next 10 years. This is the biggest thing there too. So, the guys and gals at CHBN, I will definitely have Scott reach out for you. Don't forget, we posted a link on here for me and Jason from Bonneville, our Radio World webinar. That's next Tuesday at noon. It's a case study for Bonneville, Sacramento. You can register. There's a link in our Facebook comment section there. And once again, it's really talking about, how they handled the COVID-19 quarantine, what they did as an engineering staff, what they did to help their staff, make sure they're on the air and make sure that there's really no interruption from working from home, working on the road, working in the studio, so on and so forth. So very last minute for questions. Otherwise, I will see you probably Monday, later in the day. I think that's my rotation of time. And I'll try to maybe I'll have some kind of fun guest for you on Thursday at 11 a.m. Eastern time. Yes, all these times are Eastern. So thank you so much for tuning in. By the way, there's some rumors out there too that we want to try to do a Derek. Thank you, Derek. Appreciate it. And we're thinking about doing some throwing this out there, some podcasting. If you guys feel that would be beneficial, let us know. It gives us motivation to find different mediums for you to listen to us and talk. So if you're looking for a podcast portion, or perhaps even taking this element and making to a podcast, we can definitely do that and talk about that too. So let us know what we can do to help out for you guys. That's the biggest thing. And I will talk to you probably Monday on our Facebook Live. As always, direct message, all of that good stuff. We're here to help out, and I'll talk to you next week. Be safe, everybody. Bye-bye.